We're gonna start with chapter 1, but what you put in front of here is clean without all the markups. So do we have a marked up chapter 1? Well,
We already went through chapter.
we've gone through it repeatedly, but I think isn't the point of this step to make sure all of our changes are incorporated? And we really can't see that without a markup. Well, I don't know. Does anybody else feel like,
Are these marked up so extensively that the markups almost don't make sense anymore? You know what I mean? Like they get marked up. Let me say where I went back.
So, go ahead and turn your mic off.
Speaks.
okay, but so I have that, the edits. Yeah, so is this, because it's not just one, it's anything we're gonna go over tonight, we just need to know that the changes that we recommended last week made it in.
I'm just gonna look at the other one.
The one, for each chapter we're gonna go over, but this is what happened, I just, I have that, I believe. Because that's what we went over last, right? But we don't know that what we said made it in there, because now we have clean only. I know nobody else.
No. They actually gave you a seat.
Yeah, I know.
That's what I said.
You guys didn't like my hot breath on your back.
Well, I didn't like to be loud and looking at you. I'd rather just see you.
Thank you.
I did see those. I switched it.
I now call the September 18th, 2025 meeting to order at 4:32, and we'll start roll call, please.
Selena Powell. Ray Selna. Laura Jones.
Present.
Virginia Smith. Joe Conk. Craig Backus. Robin Prudhomme Bauer.
Present.
Carrie Snyder.
Here.
Becky Keck.
Here.
Vice Chair Becky Keck. And Alan Spence.
Thank you. This is our time for public comment. The Zoning Code Update Citizens Advisory Committee invites the public to provide comments at this time. Members of the Zoning Code Update Citizens Advisory Committee may now discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38-431.01, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later time. Persons interested in making comments on a specific agenda item are asked to complete a brief form and submit it to the clerk or liaison during the meeting. Each speaker is asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes unless a different amount of time is noted on the agenda or is determined by the presiding officer or by a majority vote of the council, commission, or committee. Do we have anyone here that would like to speak? We have no one on Zoom.
I have no one on Zoom and I have no one in the audience.
Okay. We'll continue with the minutes. Are there any comments or corrections?
I'll make a motion that we approve minutes from June 17, July 24, and September 11.
Do I have a second? Okay, the motion has been made by Carrie and seconded by Robin, our mayor. Let's take a vote. Everyone who says aye.
Aye.
Any noes? No. Well, we have approved the minutes from those 3 meetings. Okay, let's see. Number 5 on our list are our action items. Action item A is a zoning code revisions for Chapter 1, zoning code of the town of Clarkdale. We'll discuss, consider, and act upon the amendments to Chapter 1 zoning code of the town of Clarkdale and forward the same to the Planning Commission for review and discussion.
Madam Chair, Ray Selna is online
Oh,
on Zoom.
Oh, gotcha. Ray Selden is here.
oh, great. Okay. Assistant Town Manager Ruth Mayday will present this item. And then at the end, any discussion we could have then and any further comments, but we'll hold off until we can get Ruth back here.
While we're waiting for her, I just want to explain the why of why I asked her to get sort of, is that when this goes to planning and to council, it can't go as a clean copy. We only will take it as, I mean, we can have a clean copy attached, but I don't even like to do that. It has to be track changes because they have to see what's going to change. And when we do the community open house, we have to be able to articulate to the public what has changed. And if we only have a clean copy, nobody knows what's changed. So from a transparency standpoint, we have to always stick with the track changes. If you want a clean copy because it helps you read it, that's totally great. But when we're taking action, it's on the track change version, and that will go forward to P&Z and to council. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So one thing I wanted to note on the updated Chapter 1 that you had, there is one other change that was not in time to put in, that won't be in the red lines either. It's under the zoning districts. We're going to add actually a zoning district because Ruth caught an issue with Park Place lots not being in compliance. So we're going to be adding another category under high density called high density residential historic, because those were put in place at a time where the setback, it doesn't meet any of the setbacks and things like that. So there's going to be a category specifically added called high density residential historic. And it will be specifically noted in here as R3H. And then also, it will also stipulate that this is only for patio park plat lots 1 through 30 and tracks A through D. So you won't see it in there today, but it has been added and it will be added into Chapter 3. You'll see that again when we go through that, because we'll have different setback standards and things like that. And that was specifically because she caught those, that it wasn't going to be in conformance with the change. So.
Well, and Ruth and I had a discussion today about renaming all these, renumbering and renaming the zoning districts, and I'll let her speak to it, but my impression of our conversation after we had that discussion in this meeting is that we weren't going to change the numbers of the like going from R1A to R2. But let's let her come.
Well,
in.
you'll see. So unfortunately, the one we discussed last time wasn't the most updated one. So you'll probably see it on these today. Like those weren't the titles. Like it's actually like R143, R10, R15, R2, R3. So those are the correct titles. It's not the R1, R2, R3 that were in it last week. So you'll see them in there today because they now apply mostly to what they're referring to as lot sizes. So like 43,000 square foot and greater, 10,000 square foot greater, 5,000 square foot and greater. And then the R2 and R3 become the more higher density things.
So we can't take action.
No, we'll just table these next time.
Okay.
That's what I was going to ask. Since,
But
yeah.
I got it. So let's have that conversation so everybody can hear what we talked.
Right, so we talked about not changing the districts. So rather than change them now, we can go back and amend this later, once we get all the check stuff done.
I think that makes total sense. It's just on the agenda as an action. And so I'm really glad. So can you explain? I just don't want people to think this is all happening behind the scenes. This is a follow-up to the discussion we had at your last meeting about my concerns about changing all these zoning names. So then we would be maintaining the old ones and the new ones. And Ruth and I had a conversation of, does that make sense? Like, what do we gain by doing that? I think in chapter 3, we can combine and say, these designations mean this, all the same. But I think we should keep the names, because right now, if we start changing all this, we talked about the general plan has to be changed. There's a lot of other things that this is gonna affect, and including maintaining dual, okay, what are you now? What would you be if you changed? And Ruth is retiring, and we don't have a senior planner. So for me, I want to keep moving on this, but I don't want to create unnecessary confusion and work for the future. So I couldn't get any kind of, hey, this is why we should do this, that offset the detriment. So I said it in the last meeting, my recommendation is we don't go messing with these beyond grouping them, and changing, and I think you're right, we'll do that in chapter 3. But that means what's in chapter 1 is not up to date.
So
Well,
what we can do is, we can still take this, it's going to have, once we make those changes to chapter 3 and finalize them, then we can bring 1 and 3 back and make those changes. So
Like,
we're not sitting on it.
And also, since there's some additions to 1, it would be hard to have any action on this tonight, because Jessica was saying that there was some additions being
There's
made.
so it's only to the table, sorry, that's okay. The issue that we have with the zoning in R3 is that is what patio park is zoned. And those setbacks are too big for those tiny skinny lots. So what we decided to do was create an R3H, which is for historic, so we can go back to those historic setbacks so people that acquire those lots can continue to build. That language will be added. We will be creating that district, the R3H, in the chat when we do chapter 3 changes. When we come back with the chapter 3 changes, after we decide on all of the names for all of the zoning districts, we can insert the R3H at the same time we insert any new chapter names for chapter 1. Unfortunately, it's a chicken and egg thing, and it's just hard to manage it.
She is hearing the concern, figuring out a way that we can kind of have the best of both worlds.
Right. I think the staff's concern right now is getting this text. Keep that moving.
Is there any other discussion?
Like on the zoning values, the one thing that I was looking for, and I didn't find it yet, but maybe it's somewhere else, is situations, do we allow or do we not allow where you have one parcel that has 2 different zonings in the parcel?
No, we do allow that. We're going to have to allow that. If we don't allow it, it's a taking, because some people have that already. So those zoning districts, the split zoning districts, we already have, and that's largely the commercial along 89A. 300 feet, we already know where it is. We already know what it is. If somebody wants to come back and do that, yes, we just require a legal description so we can specifically identify this area is zoned R4, this is R4A. Yep.
Since I wasn't here last week, and I apologize for that, is how do the rest of us feel about these zoning districts, the proposed new ones? I'm just asking. because I don't know what the discussion was last week. I don't want to take people back, but.
So at the last meeting, Mayor, just, all we talked about were titles. We didn't talk about any details of the zoning districts.
Oh, we'll
Yeah.
do that in three.
Chapter
Okay.
3, yes.
So that's why this is like the cart before the horse, is that chapter 3 actually is where we get to detail these out, and that's where the discussion comes. So I'm asking, so if, as we go into chapter 3, and we get to talk about these discussions, if there are districts we don't want, then we can amend 1 to take them out or to do something else with it. Okay.
That's correct.
Okay, I just want to understand that
But
process.
what we discussed was the cascading effect of doing that. And we had a pretty robust conversation
Okay.
about like, if you change a zone or you combine zones or you take one away, there's a cascading effect
Right.
around the amount of work that that takes to maintain those changes. How does that coordinate with the county? What does that mean for staff? How do we communicate that to the public? So though in theory, I think we can do that. I think what I'm gathering from this conversation is ideally we don't necessarily want to do that because of the butterfly effect or the cascading effect of what happens when
Okay.
you make those changes, that it's not just, oh, we're going to change this. Then it has to get changed in GIS, or it doesn't get changed until somebody changes ownership of the property changes. And then you have to track the ownership of the property change. And then you have to do all this stuff. So ideally, we don't necessarily want to make
Well,
those changes.
My position, I'll speak up because it was me who brought it up, is if
Wasn't
there's a
just-
compelling reason to-
Right.
when we get to 3, that you really don't want something, I mean, if there's a really strong compelling reason beyond just cleaning up language, that was my point, is I didn't feel like the reason to do it was compelling enough for what's gonna happen, but when we go through them, we may find one that there's a compelling enough reason to make a change to 1. That was my position.
Okay. And I appreciate, Laura, what you're saying, because I'm just trying to understand the tone of this discussion, because I know this is a very important area for all of us. So understanding that relationship and I see we're looking at it, we're not going to adopt this tonight, are we?
Chapter 1?
Yeah.
No, we can adopt chapter 1 because we know this will be coming back after we're complete with chapter 3 to list any of the new zoning districts that we add. We can't, otherwise we would be sitting on this until we finish chapter 3. And most of this has nothing to do with chapter 3.
Only those 2 sections?
Yes, so we would just adopt it with the table modifications, when chapter 3 is complete.
And can we adopt everything but those zoning districts and
So
zoning map?
One thing I think you guys are concerned about is that we're not adopting,
Right.
right? It's not an adoption.
We're,
It's just saying that it would not, this chapter would not come back before you until it would go to commission, but it would be, when it would come back, it would have the updated table after chapter 3 is done. It's not saying it's done and you're not adopting
Oh,
these.
no, I gotcha.
It's not going to commission until the entire, it's a whole
so
thing.
it's going to planning commission for them to review prior to us finalizing the entire document, right? So that planning commission has an opportunity to read through all of these zoning changes. So when we go to the public hearing for adoption of the complete thing, and it goes to town council for adoption of the completely new zoning code, everybody's had a chance to fix it. So if this is not perfect, we have to add zoning districts back in it or take them out. We can make those amendments to that table when it comes back from planning commission.
Doesn't your red line say that?
Can't go to planning commission until there's substantial agreement of this group, and we know we don't have agreement on that. We can't have discussion till we get to 3. So I don't feel that this should be voted on by this group when it's not in at least a state that, because you can't say, I approve it with these stipulations, because we don't know what those are, and I think you're gonna really confuse everybody if you start sending things to the next step when we're not done at this step.
Well, I thought your red line deleted the table and had it just said updated table, like to be, I thought you had, that the one I saw earlier today, I thought
So.
you, in chapter 1, you had deleted the table. So it wasn't like a confusion of what was in there, so they don't get distracted by it.
So what we have left is the zoning district list, right? The list
Okay.
of zoning districts.
Right?
No,
Okay.
And we could strike, and this collapse those until later.
So.
Right.
This is where I'm feeling. I feel that there's big parts of chapter 1 that are probably very much linked to chapter 3. And we haven't seen, to chapter 3, that the two of them should go together rather than like, we should finish our work on them together because that'll help us keep track of this. That's how I'm looking at this.
Because if you look at what you gave me tonight, it has in the list what on the last version is struck out. So, I mean, I'm sorry, not struck out. So what my assumption is what's struck out on this version is what it used to be, single family residential. You're wanting to change it to low density residential or 1, and that's what this blue copy has, low density. So what is it right now?
right now it is this in blue.
It's,
this
what
is the
say
one.
right- But in
These
our,
are very-
right this minute, what do we call it?
We call it single family residential.
So that's my point, is you have already accepted the changes from this version, and we said we don't want those. So this is wrong, and it's going to P and Z,
This is,
right? I mean, this is not their dreams.
so, yeah. So what I did was went back to the original text because we've made many changes to this so that we don't have 5 different colors of red lines, pasted the last version changes into this document. I didn't change this because I wanted to make sure that when we send this forward to Planning Commission, we can explain to them, this section will likely change. We're going to review the text and discuss it. That's all we're doing is reviewing and discussing. Planning Commission is not making any approvals, just review and discuss.
Okay, I don't agree.
Okay.
What you have here is
And-
changed from what the current code is, but you presented it as if it's, so there's no strikeout showing what you're changing. We can't have that. I've got to have
Right.
a version where,
Prove something that we can't see the changes on.
well, that, and
Yeah.
this, I'm very concerned, Ruth, that right now, what you put before us is basically accepting some changes, and so now we're gonna lose track of what's changed.
The only thing on here that was an accepted change that I didn't delete was the zoning districts. That's it. The rest of it, I cut and paste into the original text.
I just don't feel like you should be moving something forward to P and Z until these people agree
how do I-
on what it is.
Okay,
That's
that's
fine.
fine. That's fine.
How do other people feel about this?
I'm not.
I've done documents like this before, and it gets completely unwieldy. And I did a human resources handbook once, and by the time you looked at what was marked up in red, it was almost impossible to tell. But you did need to see that to know exactly what the changes were and what you were approving. So as unwieldy as it seems, Ruth, what may, I feel like, ultimately happen is that somebody needs to take the original document, type and start from scratch almost, because you've probably made changes to the red lines to the changes to the red lines. You know what I mean? So it's almost cleaner to say, okay, these are the things we agree on and we can discuss that tonight, right? And go back to the original document and now make a clean red line copy, because then you can see what the final change is. I mean, and that's a pain. I totally appreciate it.
What we originally
Had
track.
Right, yeah.
And we had, in a recent ordinance, we had a big snafu and there was misunderstanding. Maybe because there was version issues and then
Yeah.
it got messed up when it went to the. Oh, yeah, it cost us thousands of dollars. So there's a reason that I'm
Yeah.
concerned about making sure that we're not accepting any changes. Everything needs to be in track changes. Because now it looks like this is what was original and what was original isn't there any longer.
Yeah,
Right?
and so for me, like in the oh, sorry, in the table that has the district name, we're changing some of those names of those districts, which I think we can change the name of the districts, not the codes necessarily. I don't know. That's how I see it, but it maybe work. But like, so in this table where it says low resident density residential, it used to be called single family residence. So like there should be single family residence in here with a red line through it. So we now know it's called low density residential. Because to me, those name changes make sense. And we can make the codes like you have here, former districts are actually just will be the districts that are in low density residential without changing all the districts. I mean, I don't know if that's it. Right, but that's, yeah, but that's to me makes sense, but I do think that it's important for people to be able, I'm just using this as an example because it's one I understand and that's easy to look at and what's in front of us. Or relatively easy. But I do think it's important for whoever is reading it, whether it's us or the planning commission or it's the council, that people are able to see that. And so, yeah, and I just, yeah, and I totally appreciate, Ruth, what a nightmare this is to track. And it is really like, it is almost like, let's make all our changes and then go back and now do a red line that takes it to the new version. And so you have a red line and you have a clean version to look. Right, yeah, so there's, because that's, right, yeah, yeah. So then you can see what was the original copy and what's the new proposed. Yeah, you can't accept anything mid, yeah.
You are though.
Yeah.
Dan. I mean, we're gonna bring something and then we're gonna bring it again. Changes and I just feel like that's very for staff and for some.
Yeah.
I know why it wants to do it is so that you're not getting slammed with a huge number of things, but we know this isn't where it needs to be yet.
But I also think that this committee, I feel like we're tasked with doing this minutia, right? And so when it goes to P and Z, they have a clean red line and they have a clean version to read. And they can clearly see, and when it goes, and then they can bring it back. I don't know if it comes back to us or it goes to whatever that process is, but I feel like it's our job to do this pain in the neck work, which just feels, it feels cumbersome unless you're me and you like doing
does,
stuff
yeah.
like this. Right,
Very
yeah,
about version control edits, which version we're editing, and not accepting things so that we don't see what's different. Because we have to show that to the public. I mean, when we have the open house, we gotta clearly show,
right.
here's what changed.
And this is, we've been all talking about this for months and it's hard to understand. And so we've got to try to make it as clear as we can for P and Z and for the public because it's complicated. And when you have multiple versions, then it gets even more complicated. So. That's all I got.
Any other discussion? Do we have a motion to possibly
Table.
table?
I'll make a motion that we table pending chapter 1 to the plan.
Do I have a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second to table this before sending it to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Let's have our vote. All that vote for, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And PNC has received these drafts. It's not a formal, at the last meeting, these were all handed out. So there you have them to start familiarizing themselves.
And
That's different than taking an action to formally send it.
Okay,
Not there.
okay. Okay, we're on B, zoning code revisions, chapter 4. Assistant Town Manager Ruth Mayday will present this item, chapter 4.
Okay, so this version includes the corrections and the discussions that we had last time. We went back, we had discussed changing the standards for the golf course. We've done some additional research. There's we looked at other jurisdictions that have golf courses in the Verde Valley. And really the only thing that we wanted to keep that is consistent is the first 4 paragraphs. So that would be the only other change that staff would support making. Hang on, just.
Page 34 and 35. So, section 170, A and B would be kept, but only B 1 through, well, now I guess it's renumbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It'd be 5 would become 6. And then, so applicant will require to conduct a monitoring program. That's as far as it would go. And then everything after that would be removed.
So what happened to accessory structure?
We discussed last time, remember that the accessory structure information is going into each zoning district, so that was struck.
It's not read out.
It's not red line because this whole thing is a complete rewrite.
So we're taking, that was my question, because again, I wasn't here, and I
Right.
apologize, and so I didn't know what happened to it either. That was my question. Where did it go?
So what we did was rearrange all of chapter 4 and put it in alphabetical order, right?
Gotcha,
So the whole chapter is now a strike through.
gotcha.
The whole thing, where it's just like chapter 8, where we threw out the old one, completely rewrote the new one. So all of chapter 4 will go to council and the planning commission. Is the whole thing redlined?
And I saw that. I looked,
Yeah.
I have to tell you, at 9 o'clock last night, I looked through this whole thing.
No, I
So
don't.
I didn't get home till 8 o'clock.
Oh,
last night.
Nope, I get it.
So
I get
I
it.
have
No,
to
it's,
prove it.
it's a legitimate question. Like I said,
I appreciate just a little backtracking. I got it, but the question was, and I think you just answered that, accessory structures
Mhm.
are going into each of the
zoning districts.
zoning districts, so we don't have a separate section for that.
Right. It doesn't make any sense. It's not efficient to bury them in chapter 4. When people come in and they say, I want to know what I can build in R1, and they go, oh, by the way, you need chapter 4 if you want a shed. So here it is all together. Here's the setbacks. Here's where your accessory dwelling units, or I mean, not accessory uses go. This is the accessory uses
Thank you.
that you can have in this district, so that we can have more specific language and it's more helpful to the public.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I think that does make sense.
So, I'm sorry,
yeah.
go ahead, Mary.
Yeah,
So this is the red line of the version that we used last time. So you'll see, like I said, accessory structures is struck out. We renumbered. The only other thing that we added, was the PAD language for the, standards for golf courses.
okay, and I saw that. I was going to ask a question about that, is you've got 2 1s there. So you, the version.
So it'll
I'm
be
looking at-
reoriented, yeah.
Yeah,
Becomes
we'll
2,
correct that.
3, 4.
So if all golf courses shall be developed in accordance with requirements in chapter 3 zoning districts, planned area development, do we need all of this other stuff in here? If we look at them as a planned area development?
Strictly speaking, no, we don't. But I think that, again, based on what everybody else uses, it's the same language about, you know, the ADWR restrictions in a I've lost my train of thought. The ADWR requirements for the what am I trying to think of? AMA, thank you, Active Management Area.
Got it.
Um,
Okay. Oh, and I guess my question around all of that is, and I understand it, I have to tell you, this section drives me absolutely crazy, period, end of statement. I
Right.
think it's so complicated, convoluted. And
So complicated.
it also only deals with golf courses having grass.
Having
if-
what?
Grass.
Oh, yes,
What if they don't have grass?
that's fine. That's why we put the PAD in
How
there.
about why don't we take it case by case and not detail all this out?
If that's what the committee wants to do, we
I'm
can
just
strike it
not-
all and just say they'll all be developed as a PAD, the end.
I'm just asking because this seems so cumbersome and we really would like, if we're going to do golf courses, there might be better that there is grass. Maybe we want it natural where you have, you know, small greens that are just a little grass and it's basically natural, maybe sand kind of, desert kind of golfing. That happens all over the world. I mean, I've played on that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So I'm just trying to see, why are we going through this when our real intent in part of this is not to use much water at all?
Mhm.
To do that, why don't we take it case by case? Because maybe it's better that way. We have a lot more and use some of this other stuff in sort of guidelines that if you're going to use grass, this is what you got to do. And use it in sort of those standards for different, if anybody's ever going to do a golf course here, I don't know if that's going to happen or not. But could you put some of this more into guidelines or standards rather than in code? I'm just asking.
I mean, you could.
I
put
was
some-
wondering the same thing.
right? And I decide I want to build a golf course and this is all wiped clean, right? And I'm gonna go build a grass golf course because everybody loves grass on golf courses. What's to stop me?
Well, because you would
Because
say.
it's not here.
Because you would say in that you would say in here it's required to have a PAD and then we'd have guidelines that we would give them.
Well, the PAD has guidelines in that chapter of what you have to submit. And if it's not listed as something you have to submit or abide by, they don't have to do it.
So we'd have
It's
to,
a
then we'd
request.
have to, so essentially we would take this detail and put it into the PAD guidelines.
I
We could
make
do that.
them-
You have to have it one place or the other, or else you have nothing to go by. It's just a
Right,
request.
Right, that's what
That's
why I was
saying
wondering.
is
Well,
Those
I'm
details,
just asking.
There's gonna be.
Gotta be
grass.
somewhere.
You know, those details only apply if there's grass, you know, beyond a certain amount.
So that was what would go into the PAD language.
I
So-
mean, I think I'm just trying to make this a little bit clearer and show that there's alternatives.
Mhm.
Because this very much focuses us on water use,
Correct.
the amount of water use, affluent use, and grass. Golf courses don't have to be that way. And we don't really show them another option. So if we can keep it planned area development and in the planned area development area, I got you, Jessica. Put some guidelines or standards if you're going to do a grass, what most of us probably think of golf courses. This is what you've got to include in that. But if you don't, this is what you got to include in that. So we give some weight to not having, to having golf courses that are not water intensive in any way, shape or form. I'm just thinking,
Nope, I
because
get
this
it.
is so complicated. You look at this and you go, what the?
Yeah, but you guys are also saying it needs to be somewhere.
Mhm.
Right.
Because you can't just say, oh, it has to be in a PAD, but if there's nothing in the PAD documentation
Right, we
then-
can't, right, it has to be somewhere, we have to give them guidance, otherwise they can do whatever they want.
But as a PAD, as we always know, is a lot more negotiable. If it's in code, it has to be exact.
No, if you do a PAD, you can negotiate those things.
That's
right.
what I just said.
But the standards for golf course development, this is what we want to start.
Sure.
Yeah, we can easily move it. I found a spot in into the PAD section, but it's like we were discussing, if you get to the submittal and it's a golf course, and then you go to the hearing and you say, well, I would like some more information on this and this and this, or this kind of report, the developer can say, where I don't have to give it to you. And then if you were to say, I don't, you have to have some better, so that you can say why you're denying it or something. Like if you don't have it in there to discuss, that's where I'm finding like, because I mean, that's the thing, all developers all the time. I mean, they're like, where's the drainage study requirement? It's an obvious development tool, but sometimes like if you didn't mention it, I don't have to do it. So you need, like, I think I can take all of this section and put it at the end of the PAD where it talks about submittal requirements
Yeah.
and say, if you are proposing a PAD with a golf course community, the following shall apply.
Yep.
The X amount of grass, because it doesn't really apply. You don't need to submit all of that if you're not gonna do grass. You need to differentiate and leave.
Well, they would put that in the PAD, that it's, you would see it and they could put that in the narrative. We shouldn't require this. And I've done this in other PADs. It's like, we don't follow this because we don't meet this criteria. We don't meet that criteria. So therefore it's not required.
I would like to see language that says, if you're doing a golf course under the PAD and a certain percentage, pick a percentage, 60%, 70%, whatever, is gonna be grass, then you must submit all of this information. But if they're gonna do a golf course with very minimal grass, why would we say you have to submit all?
Right. So we can do the golf course submittals. Excuse me, we can do the golf course submittal in the PAD. We'll put the standards in there. And then we will have one set of standards for for anybody that's submitting with actual grass. And then another set for non-turf golf courses.
Yeah, I think that gives us flexibility and kind of meets more the intent is that if you're going to do one, we want to use as minimal amount of water as possible. So we want to give them an option in the PAD process of saying this works really well on this piece of property. You know that during PAD, we can have a whole lot of different discussion.
Sure.
But we can put in standards if there's insistent that, I don't know what that percentage is of grass, then they have to meet these standards for us to move it forward.
Well, I think the standard would have to be if you were including any turf. These are the standards.
Okay.
Because we can't,
Percentage
the
doesn't.
percentage isn't going to help because if you think about putting a golf course out and on the other side of the river, right, where the old golf course was, we have no way to get effluent out there. So unless they have a residential component or a commercial component that's going to generate effluent.
And that's a great example of why we need to do as a PAD because that was not a turf golf course.
Right. So if there's no effluent, we can't require them to use the effluent. But if there is effluent, and as this document, and as things change and projects are developed, our ability to supply effluent will change. So if you're using turf at all,
You're not
then
gonna-
you have to follow these rules.
Yeah. I mean, I'm good with that.
So if we moved it to the pad section, is it still enforceable if it changes over time? Because I mean, the way I think of it is a pad coming in and doing their degreement, right? They have, okay, yeah, I'm going to do it this way because you say I have to. That's great. And then 10 years down the road, they start making alterations to their golf course. Is it still enforceable to send Bob out under chapter 3?
Yes, so you can enforce the existing agreement, right? Or you can amend it.
Okay.
So say we get effluent out there, we want to use 80% effluent. Now we can amend the agreement saying, now that we have effluent, they're going to use 80% effluent and 20% water, potable water.
Yes.
Just to back up in this chapter on page 12, section 4-080 noise. Do we have the definitive answer for C there, which is construction activities on site abutting any residential use between the hours of 9 PM and it says sunrise, and I don't think that's our code anymore.
We need to be consistent with the code we
Yeah.
just passed.
We just,
Sorry, which page was that?
it's okay, section 4
Page 12?
dash 080 noise, page 12. C. Okay.
Yeah, well, amend that. I'm sorry, I missed that.
That's okay. I just thought I saw it, so I just wanted to make sure you saw it.
I do want to point out though, at some point between last week's version and this week's version, a lot of red line stuff that was read in here is no longer read in here. So we're not keeping track of what's changed. So I'm kind of cross-referencing things that were redlined here that aren't over here. So I guess the word is changes have been accepted. That, so now we don't
not.
have a version where here's the original, here's what it is now. Right?
Well, I guess my impression was that only the things that we talked about last time that we wanted changes would be changes to the existing text. Like I said, this isn't your typical red line because we're throwing out the entire chapter and putting in a new one. So when this goes to council, it will be all clean. There won't be any text changes.
Still in, or that was in here. I mean, a lot. I mean,
I'm not,
Just, honestly, I didn't accept anything, so I'm curious, like what, if I can see like what you're talking about.
so, I mean, if you just, I don't think there's any need for me to sit here and go change by change. But anything that is different from the original, we need in track.
I mean, this is the same conversation as chapter 1, right? Is that ultimately we need a red line version, which is gonna, in this chapter, look like a giant red crayon box. And then the clean version, so we can compare them. I mean,
I mean, I don't know that we need to sit here and. I mean.
I just think it's,
So, I think
it's
it's just to say, anything that was, we just have to have a record of what was original and now what we're changing. And I understand what you're saying, that you feel like the whole thing, but there are huge sections that are the same as what they were last.
right, because we didn't make any changes to those last week.
Right, but our red lines from last week that aren't showing up in this.
I know that's what I'm trying to find out.
Ruth, in my understanding for this chapter, it's a complete throwaway. So when it would, like, let's say it went to council,
Mhm.
you're basically gonna have the original chapter 4 that is completely redlined line for line for line for line for line for line for line. And then you have the new chapter 4,
Right.
which is all, it looks original, or it looks, there's no red lines on it because it's
Right.
all new.
It's all new. It's all
Because
been rearranged.
The
It's
red
all
line is the
changing.
full chapter prior.
Yes.
You're not, none of what we saw last week is in the original.
No, it's all in the original code, but we are moving it so it is all
Rearranged.
considered new text.
what's changed, but that's what's
Yeah,
changed.
weird.
That it's not every item of text has changed, but by the way, I totally appreciate it being alphabetical because that makes it so much easier to read. I don't know about anybody else is seeing that. But
Yes, it
it's
is.
hard to compare. I get it, Susan, but I think, you know, like every word under fence and wall height hasn't changed. Every word under site visibility triangles hasn't changed. Where they are in the document has changed and the order that they're there. And so we should see, like, I'm going to make one up. Sidewalk cafe permit is now 4-150 and it used to be 4-650. You know, like we should see that in the track changes. And it just, again, it's gonna be going back to an original copy, original version of the current code and making all the changes in it and then letting the track change and then giving a clean copy with it. I mean, it's the same exercise as the one before.
Yeah, because C is wrong.
Yeah, I mean,
Isn't it?
I don't know whether,
Noise.
well, yeah, the noise thing needs to be fixed. So, I mean.
Yeah, the noise
But-
one.
But Ruth, I just think it's terrible because it is a lot of work.
It's so down. I'm not gonna go through each one. I gave you a good example of one where it's redlined in this code and it's not redlined in today's version. So that makes me
But I-
think like, okay, is it one, but I found some.
No, but we're hitting it's the same issue, is that it's very hard to keep a consistent red line. Because as you bring things to us, we're like, oh, change that, and you're like, okay, let's change that. But we still need to go back and have an original text with all the red lines and then a clean version of that text.
And you will get that.
Yeah, right,
So
yeah. So we're
let's
just,
make all the
running against the
Yeah,
same. I think Susan, you're running against that because it is hard to do it in whatever. I just think ultimately whatever we pass to P and Z should be the true red line and a clean copy.
So one
No.
question I have that might help, I don't know, because we've been trying not to, like you said, when you do track changes and you move things, it always shows completely deleted.
Right.
So one thing we could do, if you guys, since all it is sometimes is just a move.
Yeah.
If it's the original, do you want us to just accept it so it doesn't show the strikeout so that you can see
the
the
text-
original?
That's fine.
If it's a
Yeah.
move and it's a number change.
Yeah, right.
Then yes, so then, right, so that is not actually a change, but the number change and the position change is what's different.
And that might be easier.
With the comment.
We've gotta have what change, and so the reason I'm saying all this is because I'm very concerned about how you're gonna go back and do a complete red line from scratch with, and you're gonna have to go word by word.
Right.
So that's why it's important as we go along to have a true red line that we see the changes, and I just given you examples where you've lost changes. And so we've got an issue here that I'm very concerned about. From a transparency standpoint, I'm not gonna take something that isn't clear what we have changed. To the
Yeah.
public or to the council.
Okay.
So I
Into
think
planning
we gotta
commission.
finish this out before we go too far.
Or even planning commission. Yeah, in section 4 on page 12, that number C is not correct to what we adopted at council. So it needs to have the exact wording of what we adopted at council.
You said C and a noise?
Mhm.
It's the hour.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she's gonna update that.
Yeah. That's the note, just whatever we adopted.
All right, so do we want to table this one again?
And under general requirements, there's another one. We look at item 1, so another example of where you've accepted things that are changes from this. Zoning,
Which one? I'm sorry.
I mean, just, it's under D, general requirements, item 1, if you look at the last version, zoning was redlined as an add, and then in this version, it's accepted as if it was always.
You're talking about in chapter 4, which section? Like,
Section.
but D under what?
Section 4040.
4040, okay.
Which is now 4030.
CG.
So this is another example of, I don't know how that's happening. Which of you are doing that? So I don't know where this is happening, but it's gonna be a massive problem for you or whoever has to take this forward. That we don't have a real true track change.
Yeah, I think we'll start on, because the thing's happening is I had done edits and then you send them and then we're doing stuff here, but then but then when I get it, I'm working off my last word versus her last word is what I think was happening.
But
So,
control issues
mhm.
that really need to be resolved.
Okay.
So I move that we table zoning, action item B, zoning code revisions, chapter 4, general provisions.
We have a motion to table by Laura. Do I have a second? Carrie, second. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The motion carries. Okay. On number 6, discussion items only, no action will be taken. Zoning code revision for chapter 7 on signs. Assistant Town Manager Ruth Mayday will present this item.
Oh, signs, we love signs, right?
Chapter 7 signs, these are, we have discussed this once already. These are the red lines that we have for chapter 7. Purpose and intent. Take my glasses off. So we struck the original. And then we cleaned up the language to just take some extra verbiage out. So does anybody have any questions about that?
This looks like a true red line version.
Yeah. Well, that's because we haven't had this one in front of us like 4 times. So we'll go back and look at, I'll go back and dig up the previous versions of chapter 4 and we'll get that straightened around. The next section is general provisions. I'm sorry.
Okay, are we? I'm just looking for my notes on. Go ahead.
So did anybody have any comments or questions or proposed changes to section 7-010?
No.
From your perspective, what are the key changes in this area?
Like I said, we basically just cleaned up the language, just.
So we really didn't change much of.
No, we didn't,
anything?
no, we didn't change any purpose, the fundamental purpose or intent, we did not change that, we just clarified the language.
Hey, I'm really sorry, but under 4, you still have chain link. I did that one last time, under fences for swimming pools.
Right.
Under chapter 4.
In chapter 4?
Or
On chapter 4?
yes, 4050, item now 3A, chain link needs to be out. That's illegal.
So do you want to go back and re-review chapter 4?
Well, no, I don't know what to tell you. The changes that I pointed out last time, some of them are here, some of them aren't. So do you not want to hear them because they're wrong? So when do you want feedback if something is wrong?
So I think maybe we sit down offline and go through all of those.
I need everybody to understand what.
Okay, well then we can just do chapter 4 again.
It's okay to bring it up.
I mean, I don't.
Susan, did you just want to point out that one thing from chapter 4 for now? Okay.
So what section are we in, on which page?
So
Susan?
do you just need time to actually go through it and identify these items?
I'm comparing if they made the edits that we gave them.
Well,
last
no, I
time.
understand all that, but right now, and instead of this happening, it could be, would it be wiser for you to just go through that separately and then provide the information?
And I'm happy to do that. Here's the problem, then I'm undermining your efforts. So that's why I chose to come here to share what my edits would be. And that way you guys go, no, I don't want those edits. But I think the last thing you want is you guys to come up with what you want. And then I'm behind the scenes undermining what you're saying. I'm trying to be transparent with what's wrong. So, I mean, I can change anything before it goes to another board, but I'd really rather not exercise that authority. I'd rather you guys be all be in agreement of what we're sending forward. So it's really your call. I can just not say anything and after the fact, be going back and editing your work, but I don't know, that feels weird to me.
And I mean, I think we did all that, we spent 2.5 hours last week on chapter 4, and we all did that.
Right. But they're not here. That's my point.
Yeah, so I'm.
So if they're not there, I don't know if we need to go through them, but they need to be put in. So when we see this one again,
I
We
think-
agreed with your changes last week. And some of them
Right.
most of them we agreed with, some of them we didn't, and we all discussed it.
Yeah, like
That should have been done.
right, like I asked you, do you want a time or a number limit on the temporary use permits, and nobody seemed to want that, so I said,
Right.
good, move on. So, but that's why I'm taking the time to do this, because otherwise I'm editing before it goes to council. And
Well,
I'm- right,
if there's been agreement, then it should be recorded where it was not changed, and that, I don't think we have to take time to do that now, but because everybody agreed to it,
Yeah.
then yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't want to go through that again.
Okay, I see what happened. So there was a couple places it's mentioned of chain link, and so we changed it in other areas. So I'll just do a search for chain link. And we can address it in each section. It keeps coming up. Okay.
Is that agreed upon with everybody that she can do that?
That's
Yep.
great. Yes.
Oh, so, okay, so let's go back to section 7-010, purpose and intent. So really, like I said, we just cleaned up the language. It was kind of verbose. So, we had let's see, 1, 2, 3 3 lines to say the purpose and intent is to. So we just cut everything else, just says the purpose and intent of this chapter is to minimize negative effects, encourage the efficient and effective use of signs as a means of communication. Signs shall be erected and displayed in such a manner as to avoid clutter. So really, that's all we did was take out any kind of extra text.
Okay.
Okay?
So on page 2, if I'm looking at the right version, it says all signs constructed within the town of Clarkdale shall be required to blend with the context of the town. So you just want to make sure that we're comfortable with that language from a subjective standpoint.
So this was we did all of this before 2447. So we will make those changes. Those changes we will redline so that when we bring it back, that language is out.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Okay, section 7-020, general, excuse me, provisions. So we basically just went through and changed some of the reference points that we're changing for the sections. And again, this one was mostly a cleanup of language to try to get it in conformance with the Reed v. Gilbert requirements. So again, we didn't really change text a ton other than to bring it into conformance with that. For instance, on page 3E, any sign to be erected wholly or partially within state highway right-of-way shall be approved in conformance with with any intergovernmental agreement between the town of Clarkdale and Arizona Department of Transportation. So that gives us the ability to regulate signage in the 89A corridor. Should no agreement exist, then the signage must be approved by ADOT. So if for whatever that intergovernmental agreement lapses, it goes straight to ADOT.
So that basically deals with everything up and down 89A.
Correct.
On J, is it not required in industrial? We don't.
What's that?
On J, it's a comprehensive sign package for each new commercial, multifamily and residential subdivision. So I just want to make sure it's not needed. I don't know that it should be or not, but Do we not do a sign package if it's industrial?
We can add industrial.
Oh, I think definitely should be a comprehensive sign package for industrial.
And shouldn't assume, but I will, that these will get re-lettered in the right
Yes.
order.
This is true red.
Yes, really what we wanted to do tonight is just focus on the text and then we can go back and change the rest of it. All of the lettering, the numbering, and make sure that it's consistent.
Oh, I had a question on L.
Oh.
On L3, using the word stop, look, danger, caution, and either the phrase similar character in a way that interferes and misleads or confuse traffic that has not been installed or erected by political subdivision of the state of Arizona is prohibited?
No.
I feel like that
Right,
sentence should have
so-
something at the end. It should say like,
What is,
Oh,
it
it's like.
It's, so-
using those words is prohibited.
says not shine on your
Page, it'd be page 3. So that's.
subheader L,
Yeah,
so that's the end,
Would be
basically.
L.
Oh,
3.
3, okay.
got it. Okay.
It's like.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, no, thank you.
All right, so are we good with so far up to L?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right, so M.
I have N questions too. You go first.
So my only question on this is I was a little confused, so we're administratively approving these
Mhm.
parameters.
Right.
Mostly because of time place.
Right.
But then it says, only applications requesting deviations, variances, or unique design interpretation shall require review by the planning commission, but isn't that like?
Right, we're taking that up.
BOA or? I don't know, I don't normally see, nowhere in the law does it say the P and Z is an appeal for administrative approval, right?
No, that should be town council.
Okay. And my question was, who determines what a deviation or variance or a unique design interpretation is?
Staff does.
Staff does, okay.
Yes, we'll make it.
BOA. It should go to.
It's electric.
It should be BOA. If you're going to object to a staff decision, it has to go to BOA.
It's spam.
They found you.
You need to buy a car? That's what I get every day.
Okay.
I've had 2 phone calls. You just.
So then we have adjusted this. So we do have this for staff review. Okay, we did make that change.
Okay.
So that is section O. So anybody have any other questions on this? All right, section 7-030 sign standards. All signs shall incorporate a design elements consistent with the overall architectural character of buildings and other improvements on the sign premises. So it just needs to look like everything else on the site.
And is this a section that was moved? That's why or is this just a new additional section?
It's new language. All right, so we're good with section 030. Section 040, sign measurements, design and maintenance. So these are the standards that that staff will be reviewing by. Right, as a result, again, as a result of that Reed decision, all we can really regulate now is time, manner, and placement. So you can have a time display, and then we can look at the manner and we can look at the placement. So does anybody have any questions on 040?
Through it. My next question was section 7-050, sign illumination.
Hang on. Okay,
B,
What
All,
page is it on?
I don't know,
Seven.
7. Section
Right
7.
down.
Page 7, yes.
All light fixtures shall be fully shielded and shall be installed in a manner as defined for fully or partially shielded fixtures. What is that? If they should be fully shielded? So they should be installed as defined for a fully shielded fixture, because all of them should be fully shielded instead of a fully or partially shielded.
There may be some instances where you'd have a sign that has to be partially shielded just for safety.
I was kind of questioning the first part of the sentence.
Say add partially or fully shielded.
I don't know. I do feel like, I think I've heard you talk about, there are instances where we can't require it.
Full, right, for safety reasons, we can't require full shielding.
So I do think the beginning of that statement, if we added partial shield, then the end statement that Laura's bringing up.
Well, then that brings me back to because this was part of our first discussion when we went through this, was if we were going to increase the lumens, is that the right term?
That's chapter 8.
Oh no.
So here we're talking about sign illumination versus outdoor lighting. Right,
Okay.
2 different things.
I'm like, oh no.
But I hear where you're going.
No, I got it now. Thank you. I needed it.
All right, so was there a change then, Guthrie, you were proposing for section B? Okay,
Or
Partially, I think, and
in
yeah.
all, in cases, can we say it's where it's, I mean, we prefer the fully shielded, but
There's incidents where partially is the
Yeah.
only way you can do it.
I don't know.
Some shielding.
Yeah, it makes sense to add that first word before it.
okay, anything else in sign illumination, section 7-050?
Number 8. Illuminated signs must be extinguished by 10 PM or at the close of business, whichever is earlier.
I'm sorry, that should be, we'll make that later.
And the flashing lights. I'm just not a fan of them in any case. Even the one by the school, I just don't feel they're in character with our town, but yeah. No, it's the one that's by the school that is drives me crazy. But I'll be.
So what?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Except emergency or
Yeah.
warning signs installed for traffic control. Mhm.
Except for, right, traffic control, speed limit, stop signs, fire stations, school zones, and similar government or public uses. Right, they can't be flashing. No. This is permanent signage. So like if Carrie has one that says, I'm open, I'm open, I'm open, that's fine. She can have that. But what she can't have is her sign that says 1012 on it, flash.
No, Carrie, no.
All right, so are we good on 050?
Yes.
All right. 060 has been renumbered. Signs exempt from this ordinance and fees. So we went through this section. These are really just really focus on governmental signs, those kinds of things. We don't charge fees for stop signs. We don't charge fees when the town puts up a sign for a police department or things like that. If we change a wall sign, for instance, if the administration offices move out of the basement of the library building, we don't have to get a permit and pay money for us to take that sign down and move it somewhere else.
trying to understand it. It's kind of a community and public information signs, so. I know like Bob knows where the people who pass out their food, that he's told them they can't put signs on the roundabouts or whatever.
Right.
So where, this kind of feels like if they're excluded from this.
Well, they can't put them on the roundabout because
Traffic.
we have an IGA to regulate 89A. That's a completely different set of rules than this.
But would it help us? That's an interesting point. Would it help us to note that no signs are allowed in the roundabouts and direct them to why? Like, is there another place that says why? Or do we need to put that in there?
Aren't they right away? Aren't they right away considered the roundabouts right away?
Yes.
So no signs allowed in the right of way. That's all. I mean, that's just,
So, I mean, then I guess maybe
Okay.
that would be that where if we said community and public information signs, we're saying they're exempt from this ordinance. But
Okay.
now we're saying, they can't be in the right of way.
are you meaning when we say community, is that meaning like the town? It's not meant for anybody in the community, correct?
No.
So if we just say town and public information signs? Or
So we have
like-
enforced community as signs like that we put up when you come into Clarkdale, where you have, this is for, right. Concerts in the park or those kinds of things. Those are the community signs.
So I mean, I like what Jessica said that maybe, because I did read that elsewhere, you can't put your signs in our right of way unless we have given permission for it, but I'm not sure that if you're somebody like the place that puts out the food, I'm only using them as an example because we've had trouble with that. If you read this, it looks to me like I'm exempt from, because I'm giving community information, I'm exempt from this ordinance, but they're not, they still can't put it in the right of way. So should we add something to that last one that?
Or is it something at the top that, I mean, do we need to restate? No signs are allowed to be in the public right of way. I mean, Brett, is that even true? I don't know.
Well, this is talking about the exempt portion, but so we could add probably something like that earlier, but in this section, for G, if we just put town of Clarkdale public information signs.
We can put stuff in our own right
Yeah.
of way, but other people can't.
Right.
I mean, that's what I think is important, because
Yeah,
it's something
yeah.
that comes up a lot. And if you look at this, it makes me feel like people would have an argument, hey, I'm exempt from this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I think that change would be.
yeah, I think that's good, something that just. makes
Gives
it
better
clear, 'cause that's-
definition.
Oh,
So we'll add town of Clarkdale in front of community for G.
Science detected by. Because we do put up other people's signs. Well, community partner, like, is having a big community event, we'll put their banner up in that one designated place.
And then the other portion you mentioned about no sign shall be in the public right of way. I think that can be put
It's in
up
the prohibited.
in the general, the
It's
general
prohibited.
provisions.
Yeah, prohibited signs is D, is private signs in public right of way.
Are we on those?
I don't think we're there. So is that all we want to do with 060?
Yes.
All right, 070, prohibited signs.
Before G,
No, G is my only one.
I just thought on G, it should say signs painted or erected on exterior fences, is that correct? So I mean, I know somewhere else you quoted that before, that you can't put signs on roofs.
Correct. Yes, no
Or
signs on
fences.
roofs.
So we should put signs painted or erected or somewhere.
Yeah, because somebody could put up.
When you have, I think we have a picture in here though, of the one that like has the roof. design and then it kind of sticks out. Would that be considered part of the roof though?
Perpendicular signs.
Where, like,
Are you
it
talking
comes
about a
out-
parapet wall or one that's actually
Harry?
attached to the roof?
It's attached to the roof. So it's, I mean, I guess it's kind of like a parapet a little bit, but it's, some people, I don't know. Would you consider that the roof? I mean, if it's got like architectural design to make it look like a roof, I mean, I don't know. I've seen those other, because sometimes you see them in like with the 70s strip malls, they have like the faux thing and then they pop out like a little, you know, sign in front.
Oh, I know. Yeah. The mansard roof.
Yeah. I don't know if that would be restricting it, because I thought we had a picture, something similar to that in roof examples or a sign example pictures. I thought there was something similar. I'm just wondering if,
Right.
okay. Then we need to make sure that's out.
My question about G was, does this include walls? And garage doors?
Since it happened.
When it's on private property,
It's gone. I know it's gone, but
like, did someone who
I said, check that out, but I don't know what happened. They talked to them and took it down or.
Yeah.
yeah,
Told
I
them-
mean, does it need to be that explicit? Because
I think we need to be careful about regulating signs on public property.
on private property.
I'm sorry, private property, because it's a free speech issue. And there's tons of case law that says we can't regulate content anyhow.
Right.
And it's, unless there's a compelling government interest, like I'm gonna shoot the government or something horrible like that, we can't control it. You can pay, if you want to put a sign on the side of your house that I hate everybody, okay, well, have a nice day.
Yeah.
But as long as it's on your property, there's not much we can do.
Okay, so you just said that, and yet in G, we say or roofs, which is private property.
But the roof thing is a building code issue.
Issue, yeah, the safety issue.
I'm
right?
just asking.
Right, because the more penetrations you put in a roof, the more you risk water getting in, and then the sign's gonna fall off and hit somebody. That's the reason that we don't allow them on roofs.
I mean, I understand that. It just, when we talk about no signs on, that we can't regulate signage on walls or on garage doors of a house, we're saying we can't put a roof. I understand the safety and the penetration issue, but that's also private property. So I'm just trying to, how do we clarify that? Why not on roofs?
So it's on private property. If somebody wants to put a sign, if they want to bolt a big sign on their roof, right? That says whatever, there's not much we can do because they're putting holes in their roof. And if it falls down on their private property, it's their responsibility.
Signs painted on exterior fences or roofs.
Right.
Prohibited.
Prohibited. You cannot put a sign on a roof unless it's on your if you want to put a sign on your private property on the roof of your house, you can do that. What you can't, well, I'm sorry?
But the number one couldn't put a big sign up on the roof
Okay.
No.
saying #1 gas station.
Commercial versus private. Commercial speech is regulated entirely differently than private
That's not
speech.
what this says.
But is this whole chapter about commercial
Yes,
signage?
It's just.
I mean, the whole
about-
chapter is about commercial.
right. It's
signage.
commercial signage. It's, again, it's not private signage because
Private
it's
signage.
very hard for us.
I think we talk about for sale though, too. For sale signs.
But it does feel contradictory.
Well, and maybe it is. This is a chapter about commercial signs.
Yes.
Put that in.
And
So we'll
maybe
just
we
call
should
it commercial signage
call
then.
it, yeah, call it.
But then-
commercial
To be
sign.
that.
And add a
I'll
little
get
something in the
clarification.
intention purpose, yeah.
Commercial signage.
I just want us to be clear.
So we'll call it commercial and industrial signage. How's that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Gee, it's very tricky.
And so we're gonna add. we
And
can't
so
put
you
it-
have commercial and industrial signage. That include residential signage.
Right, there's a whole section on residential signage for subdivisions, yes.
Good point, Carrie.
Okay, so we left off at G on prohibited signs. All right, so we all understand the fence is a roof. You can't paint a commercial sign on a fence. You can't put one on a roof.
Can you put one on a wall?
A commercial sign?
Yes, you can.
You
Yes,
could paint one on a wall.
yep.
But it's still subject to the size.
Mhm.
Right.
Subject. to
Exactly, yes, it's all part, so you have a maximum amount.
Oh, that would be.
Everybody gets a maximum amount of signage based on frontage. And if you're on a corner, both frontages. So you would be restricted to that maximum. All right. Any other questions on prohibited signs? Okay, non-conforming signs. So this talks about signs that when you adopt it's just like a non-conforming use. When you adopt a change to a zoning code to a sign, you will likely end up with signs that are not conforming to the new code. So they are considered non-conforming signs, and they are allowed to exist until they are either taken down and replaced, or they need maintenance and repair and replacement that exceeds 50% of the value of the sign. So that's what this section talks about. Okay, so do we have any other questions on 7-080? All right, 7-090, commercial sign uses in residential zoning district. So this is targeted to home businesses to try to minimize the impact that that kind of signage has on a neighborhood. So,
Sign.
yes, we could put something in here.
Or says maximum total size 3 feet.
But that's bed and breakfast, for a bed and breakfast.
One wall.
Probably under the sub.
One wall sign, correct.
And height 30 inches. So that
So
sign,
that's what we're gonna
that
do.
painted garage was out of.
It was a little too big.
So it is not allowed.
Yeah.
Under that.
Okay. Multiple family residential. Again, we have more signage in those because you tend to have community centers, you have an entrance sign, those kinds of things. So that's why we have multiple family residential in here. So anybody else have anything on 7-090? I'm sorry, 070? All right. 7-100, permanent signs. So these are as opposed to a temporary sign, because we have regulations for temporary signs.
So it says under A1, where it says, or other similar devices that are not when we're saying are not illuminated, almost always a temperature device is illuminated because it's digital and it's lit. That's how it changes. Is that different? Is that different than illuminated? Are you talking about illuminated, like a light splashing on it? But I mean, a temperature device always.
Right, it says limited to traditional barber poles and time and temperature devices. Right,
So you can have a temperature device illuminated.
yep, a time and temperature. Okay, permanence, I'm sorry. Awning or canopy advertising. We really didn't change that. It was just one, I think we added a hyphen and renumbered. So freestanding monument signs, is everybody together on page 12C? Permitted in commercial, industrial, and multifamily zoning districts and for residential subdivisions. So this is where we talk about residential subdivisions, the monument signs that you see at the entrances.
So after have the language drops all our plants from the town of part of the plant list. Shall, we change the shall be placed around the sign base. But what if there's no water there or no dirt? Like what if the signs put on a parking lot? Just kind of questioning because we are changing it from may to shall. Yeah, that's all.
Right, so if they have no landscape, they have no water.
Even if we put it in a parking lot, we're gonna have them.
Keep an eye on the rock around it, isn't it?
Mhm.
We all okay with that?
Trying to think of an example of one. I mean, I'm thinking of Dollar General, but that's landscaped around it.
Right.
I was thinking of, is the one around, Vega Pierce landscape?
Does it show up in the landscape ordinance?
I
Versus
think that's
sign
pretty
ordinance?
natural there. So I don't think it was landscaped, no.
That one's
That
been
was
there
what was
forever.
ever existing when they put it up. Yeah, yeah, no, I gotcha.
Is important because we have changed it from may to shall. I mean, I don't care either way, but I just wanna make sure we all feel like. Coming out of the.
I'm gonna pull it.
Yeah.
Oh, concrete.
You got a mod that I think,
The little fill landscape.
What was our, was it a beautification placing, what we put shall? Staff made that change, or Sultan or staff made that change, right?
May to shall, which means it's required.
Mhm.
What was our, I didn't make that change.
I don't remember, that meeting was a while ago. But yeah, I mean, it's up to you guys because this is pertaining to any future signs. So anything existing is grandfathered. But it's just what you guys want going forward.
I think it was just to make it look better. So we can put May back if you'd like.
I don't care. We want that, I don't.
I'm a little bit struggling because maybe rocks and stuff are much better than plantings around a sign. And just
But you
as,
could do either or,
And you have.
what we've just changed to shall.
but it's, you shall either do plants or rock. It's one or the other, or both.
I'm just trying to vision, let's say 100 years from now, driving down 89A. In the commercial homes, right? You're gonna have parking lot, doing signs that have not.
Just a pole.
Parking lot.
Mhm.
Or do we want to have it as something that kind of
Softens it.
softens it as you're driving?
Stormwater management.
I think shall is okay.
You should.
But really, doesn't that show up in the landscape,
Yeah.
in the landscape ordinance?
I think that's okay. I think shall is
I think
okay.
you have a good point. Maybe when we get there, it'll.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, because this is signage and who's looking for where do I need to plant a plant?
I think it's okay to be shall.
So we're leaving shall, is that the decision? Okay,
That way they do something.
okay, so we took out base of sign must be in proportion to the sign size area. Trying to get away from some of the designy parts of it. Maximum height, excuse me, shall not exceed 10 feet above existing grade at time of construction. So we're talking about when they do the grading, and that's where we determine grade, so they can't make a nice little berm and then put a 10-foot sign on top of that.
I appreciate that.
That's good.
Okay, and then, the one we did take off for E on on-site commercial information, on-site information signage shall not contain advertising script or symbols. That's again regulating content.
Sign read.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, E1.
And I just have a question before we move past it on off-premise commercial signs. So these are signs,
Like there used to be Sukasa
And
signs.
put what?
That's the one I can remember, right? There
Yeah,
used to
but
be
put like-
Sukasa signs. Up,
No.
probably Ray on your
No,
property,
nobody.
right? Up
They have-
on 89A, and there used to be a Sukasa sign down on Broadway,
Yes,
right? Is it still there?
it's still there.
Both of them are still there. That's what I think of as an off-premise sign, right?
Yes.
a lot of communities don't allow.
Right.
So that's why we work.
Honestly,
I feel
this
like
is-
they're part of Clarkdale's culture, but that's just me.
This is the first community I've seen that's allowed an off-site sign.
It's just very unusual. I'm
Really?
not against it. It's very unusual to allow.
Yeah, we've allowed it.
You can track Parkdale coming from Cottonwood, there's like, welcome to Parkdale, here are our businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Is that considered off-site signage?
No.
No,
That's wayfinding.
That's
signage.
wayfinding.
that's why, that's wayfind. So that would be under the, where we talked about the community signage. That's what that is.
But in most communities, I mean, I think we were driving down the road over there. You said that's an off-premises sign, but we do allow them. It's just most communities don't, but
There used to be an Uva.
I don't know,
sign.
does Uva still have its sign? That's the other one I was just
We
thinking.
put, they used to sit up here at 89A at the roundabout on,
To me, they're sentimental. but that's-
it's sentimental here. We all know they're,
that was a billboard.
Right.
yeah.
All of a sudden, is with what amounts to a billboard all along 89A. I mean, and that's considered off-premises signage.
Correct.
People who actually know. what-
So another off-premise sign that I've seen used a lot, like in Casa Grande, we get a lot of permits for these because they might share sometimes a driveway because you have limited access. And so the parcels are different. But the sign is on one parcel for the two. So that would be considered off-premise because it's right next door. And that's what they do permits for those.
Yeah, I mean, that makes total sense. But I mean, I think this really allows billboards. I mean, it's anybody who owns land on 89A can erect I mean, I'm using the word billboard loosely, but
Could you limit the distance from your business? Is that what we're trying to do?
again, it's not something I'm advocating for or against, so just want to make sure we all realize what this is really saying.
Downtown businesses have a sign, wrong.
Isn't that the way things?
Yeah, that's the way, so we consider that a community or a public sign.
That's
Wayfinding
not,
sign.
that's not part of the town's wayfaring signs.
It's an off,
So that
There's one. A large protocol.
Yeah, the tennis, on the tennis courts.
Yeah.
But it's, right now, it's not the,
Cocktail market.
yeah, so that is on premise.
But it could be some other sign. I mean, it's
Yes,
had like
possible.
many years.
And it's been used for other things.
So as long as we're all knowingly
I think
okay
we
with
are,
it,
right? I think right now, as we know, this can all be changeable.
Yeah.
But I don't think we want to be that strict. I think we've accepted that to be the case.
Well, there is been a separation. So that.
yeah, there's some stuff in this also. But-
Ruth?
Yes,
There's Ray up there.
yes, Ray.
We have several off-premise signs and we were involved in putting some up. And when Beth was at P and Z, back in those days, we had requirements that you can't put on every parcel. You have to have footage between different parcels that would be allowed. I remember when the gentleman that was doing the subdivision at off Scenic, he wanted an off-premise sign. And you had to, back then, he had to get the approval of the town of Clarkland of ADOT. We have an off-premise sign for our Copper Mountain Apartments across the street. It may be away from, you may call it an identification to find the apartments. It's a horrible sign. It really doesn't do much good, but we put it up thinking it would help. Then, of course, we have the sign that, a lot of the downtown business are using and UVA. So there's several off-premise signs that have been here for years. But I do believe there is we couldn't put a sign on every parcel. I don't think ADOT would allow that, nor would the town of Clarkton allow that.
All right, plus, again, if it's only advertising a single use, that's 32 square foot limit. And then yep,
And then it says it's deducted from the sign.
exactly. Right, exactly. So it's not like you get all kinds of building signage and off-premise signs. You got to make it all work together. All right.
They're political, well, on, 2B, we need to add web address. Right?
Which one?
Web address.
What-
Under G, political 2B, the sign that contains the name, telephone number. State
Mhm.
law change.
Yeah,
Right.
Make sure it's consistent with state law.
So we'll put in email address. Do you want me to leave telephone number? Did they strike telephone number or did they leave that?
I think they gave an either or, but check that, please.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, I'm very sensitive to phone numbers being out there, yeah.
Number 4, no political signs. Is the map review gonna be part of this?
We just updated that map.
Yeah, right. It's because, and the old map is on here?
No, the new map is on here. It should be.
So small on this, I can't tell if it's. the
Well,
right
so when-
Yes, so many problems number.
Right, so what we'll do is when we bring this back, after we make these changes, we'll include 11 by 17 of the map. So everybody can see it.
Was a permitted place in our last discussion, but that's my recollection of that. And I think Cement Plant Road is.
Let me go back and take another look at that.
Yeah, please do.
Yes.
As a political free zone.
Yes.
So, and we might reference, see how it says C section 140.
Right, and that's where the map is. So portable signs, anything there?
Why did we take out the central business districts? Because it's all commercial.
Yeah.
Portable.
There was a reason we took them out. which now escapes me, so we'll put it back.
Number K, off-premise portable signs are not permitted. My question was, what about real estate signs, open house signs?
So we have separate section for real estate signs.
Okay, off-premise portable signs are not permitted. Explain that to me. Off-premise would be on a sidewalk?
No, off-premise would be like the Manzanita outreach. So they put up portable signs. I don't agree with this language because I think that so one of the things we had when I first came here was this huge design review for portable signs on the sidewalk in front of the Purely Splendid Spa. And it was a big deal, and it should not be that big of a deal to have an off-site, to have a portable sign. They're just not that big of a deal.
I agree.
I'm sorry?
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
We've used them. So, but off premises, okay. I'll give an example. You're doing a business downtown and maybe they have no real place right outside of their business to put that sign. But they need one. Where can they put it?
So this has come up in every jurisdiction I've ever worked in. And also I've been on the Gilbert when they were going through the nice code, Supreme Court issue. So that issue came up with them because of a church, which had an off-premise sign.
Sure.
In Pinal County, the issue became, it became very cluttered with A-frames in certain areas that had, because there's so many people with the signs, but they don't pay for the monument sign or the tenant sign because they don't want to pay for that. So they put their A-frame out front. And then other commercial people came because we brought everybody to the table. And other commercial business owners were irritated that they paid for street frontage. And they paid extra for that frontage. And then the other people in the back were still getting street frontage signage. So it's kind of like a mix of how are you going to go? Because one side is going to be mad either way,
I get a bunch of A-frames that are off premises, so nobody's watching them. Storm comes up and they're flying.
Yeah.
But that's dealt with, that they need to be weighted down and stuff. I think that's further down.
The other issue that came up was in some of the jurisdictions along major highways, or something times like that, is that it becomes a hazard, is that people are trying to see every sign and they're not very large sometimes, and it becomes an issue of what they're looking at as they're going by. It's supposed to be going by at 45 and they all slam on their brakes to slow down and look at something.
But
So there's lots of different reasons. It's just as every jurisdiction picks which battle they want.
What was the legal outcome with Gilbert on this specific issue? Were they permitted still in Gilbert or are they not permitted?
I believe they got rid of a lot of it. Because they just got rid of everything, but then they had the issue with the political signs still being, nobody gets rid of those.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
just see the weight. Additional sandwich, but wait.
Yeah.
The Bob question.
So Purely Splendid Spa had to go get something that looked like an animal because they didn't want just a plain old sandbag to weight it down.
Yeah. I've seen people with the mannequins cut out with the center in the hole. And they have people, so it maneuvers it like in it's a mobile thing. So it looks like it's someone standing there. There's all kinds of things that people have done. Most jurisdictions just get rid of them because they just say, you know what, we're tired of enforcing it. Code compliance is like, I'm sick of it. We're done with it.
Museum puts one out all the time.
I mean, my only argument on
Del
the
Mar
museum is
puts
it's
one out.
pretty close proximity to their business. You could see it, so if a storm comes up.
I think there's a difference between something in front of their door you know, like in front of, they're trying to say what our specials are or something like that versus being like on the other, like next to a highway further away, you know, and sometimes, like you said, they leave them there. They don't take them out every night.
I understand that. That's an enforcement issue.
Yeah.
Us, don't they? They
Yeah.
say, hey, we're gonna put our sign up, so staff don't watch it. That's.
Yeah.
That casualness.
So
we all want.
So what we could do is to create something in the temporary sign for those situations where you have the museum that wants to put something out there or the library. No, it's a public service. Right.
They're
That
exempt.
would take care of the museum and the library.
Like sidewalk grill, the food truck over around the corner by Smelter.
Mhm.
We did too, not put his sign out in front of my place, which you know, I had said,
I've said,
yeah, which isn't, but clearly it's.
I'm
I
not opposed to
mean,
it.
Clarkdale Market has been putting a sign up at the corner of 10th and Main because that gives people coming up the hill that it's there a block down. That's why I'm just,
At this point, we just, this is to do well.
yeah, that's what that's what
But at some point in the future, we may have to go back, because it can become visually cluttering, you know.
Sure,
Just
and-
think about, you know, we're all, because we know these business people, we're all like, oh, it's good, it's good. But
I'm
when
just saying,
U-Haul
but-
comes and they want to put a sign, you know, here and here and here and here, probably aren't gonna be as excited about them doing that. So in the future, we may want to come back, but I think we all want to give our businesses every advantage, right? You good with that?
Okay, so strike K.
think so.
Okay, so we're good with the portable signs then? Projecting signs, those are the ones, we have an example in here that stick out from the side of, stick out from the wall. Smelter Town is a good example of that one with the hotel sign. That's a projecting sign.
And 12 has a projecting sign.
Yep, 1012 has one. I'm trying to think who else.
There's his neon.
So in downtown specifically, the sidewalks are public right of way. So that's why we require them to do the agreement indemnifying the town. So if they don't put it up, if something happens and it falls off, the responsibility is the owner and not the town. So, I mean, these we do regulate a little bit more. We have a few more requirements. So we did strike out real estate signs. I'm not sure that we can regulate those based on content, which is what real estate, if we say, okay, this is a real estate sign and it says on there, Laura's Pretty Good Real Estate Company. I can't say you can't have that sign because it's a real estate sign.
Isn't it in state law that
Correct.
something in state law?
We can't regulate,
If you have to read it, you can't regulate it.
right?
What'd you
Yes.
say?
If you have to read it, you can't regulate it. And you can only enforce signs by like location, size, things like that. But if you have to read it to tell what kind of sign it is,
You can't
you
regulate
can't
it.
regulate it.
Interstate signs, like things that we limit other signs for, we can't apply to real estate signs.
Right.
So that's why
No.
we took all of this out.
No, that's why we took this out because it's like Jessica said, if you have to read it, you can't regulate it. You can't have regulations that you have to read the sign to figure out what it is. I know.
Some people just put them under, I mean, I've seen other jurisdictions still keep it in there, but technically that's not legal.
Yeah.
So. Which drives me crazy because how do you know political sign's political?
Law is-
Yep.
Because now it's out of here, but it's out of here as a specific call out, but if he's just applying signs.
Right.
I think there's some exclusion in state law about.
So I think what we need to do again is expand the temporary signage, and we'll talk about, figure out a way to call them real estate signs without calling them real estate signs.
And you're talking, and that would be for commercial and for any kind of parcel, right?
Right, so all the bandit signs, the little, we buy ugly houses.
We buy at least houses can't put their stuff on private property without permission.
Right. And again, if it's on private property, we can't really do much about it anyhow. So. All right, sign walkers, they're all controlled by the state. So there's not much we can do about any of that. What's that?
Said the sign walker Bobby's big.
Evidently.
Yeah, just once in a while you see, yeah,
I'm never sure.
it's gone out of vogue a little bit.
Putting their signs for pizza and check cashing. All right, so special event signs. So this is where we get into the signs that we were talking about that are advertising off-site special events. So that's where we get into the, those types of signage. So that people who do have special events like the market, or I guess we could even include Manzanita under there because it is an event.
Not sure the market's an event. It's just, it really is a business. I mean, it's a flea market. I'm not sure we call it an event. I mean,
What
some
kind of
people
permit
might,
does the-
No, I think you're right.
On-premise sign.
no. It's on private property.
Temporary use.
What's that?
Market, we didn't even.
Oh, that one was because it's no, it was because it's furthering economic development.
So
The
we-
sign, yeah.
Right.
I just, my only concern with the special events section is this, because it says something about private property, but can they put these in the right sign up?
No.
So we might want to just say that, because it's saying they're allowed,
But yes,
but they're not allowed in private.
not in the right of way.
So we probably should reiterate that here.
Because it does in five say you can do it on private property, but I think all the yeses that you can do above that make you feel like nothing that says you can do this, but not in the right of way.
Gotcha. Yep. So we can add that.
Yeah, because I think a lot of them end up in the right way
Yes.
Yes.
all the time.
And he picks them up. I think he's pretty gives grace, but
Yeah.
he picks them up. But if we're not clear in here, then that.
Well, I can tell you there's events that do put their directional signs end up in right of ways. And we need to be specific about that. So they say, oh, we've always done that. Well, you're not supposed to.
Right. Well, at least not without our permission. Not without our permission. You can't put signs in the right of way. This thing keeps
Well,
creeping.
we need to be clear about that in here.
So would you like us to add language that says placement in the right of way requires town review and approval?
Yes.
Would you approve anything in the right of way? You wouldn't though. For private events, because but that's allowed because that's a city or a town thing. It says those don't apply.
Even Clarkdale is not a town event, but we consider it a tourism economic development event, same with the Jungle Show. So we do have things that.
Mhm.
Allow for signage directional signage.
We always have. But the question has been, where can we place them? There's been no real discussion. We just put them and they're always in right away. Hmm?
I mean, that's always the thing in every city, and
Yeah.
usually, you know, your code officer isn't working on some.
We can just add
Stuff.
to after 5, just putting placement in the public right of way requires review and approval by the town.
All right.
And also just on number 5, the track change is misspelled, and I only want to mention it so we can. When we do the
Yeah,
exception.
I have a lot of things in here.
Oh, nice looking at, I still don't even see it. We all know what it says.
Do a.
Mm-hmm.
Under N, you have design review, should it be there?
Where's that?
Under 1 and 1.
Yeah, we can take that out. Wait a minute. Site plan review.
Through the design review process.
Process.
So that might be okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that'd be all right.
Lower,
Yeah,
because it's not the design word.
right. Yeah, because typically you do have a review process for if somebody comes in with a comprehensive sign package. And right, and subdivisions are a perfect example of this where they have, you know, like I said, the monument sign at the entrance and this way to the pool. So we can make that change. All right. Now we're on to, so are we good with special events? And we're on to subdivision advertising, direction and identification. On-site subdivision identification. 1 monument sign at each location. Again, we didn't do a ton with this. Such signs shall not be located nearer than 50 feet from a lot containing an occupied residence unless located within a master plan community. So for instance, in Mountain Gate, right, it says you can't put it, they have signs all over Mountain Gate. It's this way to the park, but they're like they're very close to residences, so. Off-site advertising and directional, again, we didn't make very many changes to this. It was pretty rigorous to begin with. Temporary signs and banners. So again, we're going to work on expanding some of the temporary signs in here. We're going to add some temporary sign language, and that will include what we generally refer to as bandit signs, the little wire signs.
How often can temporary signs be put up? It says 30 days, but they can turn around and ask for one again.
If you want a second 30 days, it's not a temporary sign anymore.
Right.
Well, what if they change it in the same location, just change one word? I've been ridiculous.
That's good.
I'm just being ridiculous. Do we want to have limitation on the number of times you can reuse a temporary sign, like 6 times a year?
Kind of back to that temporary use
Mhm.
discussion.
Yeah.
like,
Right.
Okay.
Like, I mean, I know it becomes a problem with communities, but
I'm not sure it's a
I found
problem
the
here.
first comment stuck with me, and I woke up dreaming. Is this a solution looking for a problem?
Okay, so we don't need it. Okay, gotcha.
But if it becomes a problem, I think we don't know.
Okay.
And then with
No
this one,
discussion.
we talked about putting real estate signs in here somehow.
Yeah.
So we'll have to put some other caveats because they can't really be restricted by number. of
I don't know that, the more I think about it, I don't know that we need or we really can restrict real estate signs because they're largely on private property.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's more of a HOA issue.
Really just.
Yeah, and those are portable, temporary portable signs. Yeah. So I think we're
I'll
good
put
with
this in
that.
here, okay.
But it's not,
Well, that's back, do you really wanna inhibit?
Right, exactly. Do we-
ability to sell or buy property?
All right, wall signs. I think we just changed the reference here to a different section of code.
mhm.
Under mural signs, there's.
I'm sorry, under what?
Murals.
Oh, yeah, mural signs.
Mural.
You got it in,
And which page are we on?
Yes, page 21, S, or what is that, 5S? No,
Oh,
it's
murals, yes, we
S2.
added that.
S2.
But it says design review.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
or design.
Just say approve through the design review process.
Mm-hmm.
Lower.
Mhm.
Lowercase.
Okay. All right, any others?
Yes, go back.
Sure.
Says the proposed design basement, and I may get the paranoid that are we, murals are hard because we can't judge the content. I mean, and we're back to that time, place, manner thing, so we put the proposed design and placement. I just, are we?
Do you want to take design out and just talk about placement?
Yes.
Well,
No, you
Can't- you
can't.
can't.
this is, yeah, this is, well, I mean, if they're calling it a mural, maybe we just call it a mural instead of a sign, mural sign. Because if they're gonna say it's a mural, then I can look at the content and make sure it doesn't say, canes or another signage in it.
Right.
The proposed mural and placement of the mural,
Mhm.
because then we're not getting into.
Right,
saying,
yes.
Review the design, the
Yeah.
artistic merits. I mean,
You
we
can't,
do that.
that's
Yeah.
very subjective.
Yeah.
We all love judging art.
Subjective.
Okay, temporary signs.
I'm sorry, what page are we on?
Page 21.
7-110.
Yep.
7-110. This is brand new.
So this is all new language that we talked about before. I think we just moved it. I don't think we rewrote it.
Oh, okay.
I think this was just moved. I'm sorry? Right.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I think temporary signs and banners, those are more oriented towards events. So we can clarify that and put events on there
Here.
because you typically, that's when you use banners. It shouldn't be.
Is that the one under N, subdivision advertising? And then it has temporary signs?
Yeah, that's that section.
Yeah.
That section. 100. We have a temporary
Hmm.
sign on this sign.
Yeah, it does come out, and should we just have a temporary sign section, which talks about calendar days and all that stuff we've been talking about.
We can do that, yeah.
Move it to the,
To have temporary signs twice, yeah, take it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, that, yes. I mean, you make a point there.
Mhm.
Linda. Thank you.
He's still awake, Carl.
We're barely awake. We're also getting hungry.
Okay, so temporary signs.
Oh, it's moved.
So we'll go to this section for temporary signs and that will contain all of the temporary sign language.
7-110.
And we do have the really good language here about placement, not within visibility triangles, public right of way or public right of way. So we have that.
We put
very
Right.
You can merge
specific.
those.
Right.
Also, under duration, it should be per, not pre.
This feels like all those things we were talking about, put in a nice.
Right.
concise-
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Okay,
Okay, in, again, down in, on page 23, where you have the pretty picture,
Oh,
you have design review board again. So we need to go through and make sure every, do a search for design review board and make sure it says design review process lowercase.
I think this lovely image should be at the very beginning of this chapter. Because it shows you all the stuff we're talking about. And then as you read, I mean, it can be here too, but I think it would be great at the beginning of the chapter, because it illustrates everything that we talked about in this chapter.
so we can put it at the front of permanent signs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, because it just feels like this is everything we're talking about. I was like, oh, I remember when I got to this, I was like, oh, there's everything we've been talking about.
And under that, where the mayor pointed out the design review, I would actually say here, approval by administration staff.
Staff approval.
Yeah, so we need to relook at, yeah. Thank you.
Yep, we can do that.
That's the hard part is taking.
And I don't know if there's other places where illustrations like this are helpful to demonstrate what we're talking about, but I just remember when reading this, I was like, oh, there we go.
Yeah.
This is what we're talking
Picture,
about. Yeah,
pictures really help.
yeah. She's like, I don't want to.
Okay, and then section 130 talks about visibility sightlines. We have to go into great detail here because we have different forms of intersections. So we do have a nice illustration here showing what we are talking about when we talk about site visibility triangles. If you look at at page 24. So we can't just say you can't put them at the corner,
Yeah, you have to tell them how far to the corner.
right? 25 feet.
Visibility.
Yeah, it would. I mean, you can't put signs that obscure any traffic visibility. So like the Manzanita signs religiously went on Wednesdays, Bob is out there, drives every place, makes sure that those signs are not blocking visibility. What's that?
So we like working on Manzanita, we like them.
Okay, so section 7-140, we have a sign, permitted signs by type and zone district chart. Yep. Yes.
And can we get a key N and P and Y equal?
But
I'm
they are,
assuming
even though we know it.
No, is it there and I'm just not seeing?
It's the
P
second.
equals permitted and N equals not permitted.
There, I didn't see. There's Y.
Yes. Y equals yes. Fee or permit, yes, there's a permit. Design review, yes, but we'll say staff review.
Yeah, staff review
What is staff review?
Or instead of design review.
up there in the chart.
And
Oh,
and
staff
this is,
review.
this is a bit of a picky layout thing, but in instances where we have a chart like this, in the final layout of this, we make sure the chart is on one page.
Yes.
It
Not
doesn't get a
split.
page break, it
Yeah.
gets split.
It
Yeah.
doesn't work.
You're gonna really hate the permitted uses chart then.
Oh,
Oh, this actually won't fit on one page.
Any of the charts.
Yes.
Try to get them on
Try
one
to,
page.
yeah. This will still be
So
on.
design review will become staff
Still be
review,
on
just
two,
so
but
we're
we'll get as
clear
much
that
as we
staff
can.
has to review all of these types of signs. The only ones we don't are ideological signs political signs, public information signs, real estate signs, special events, but we should be reviewing those, so we'll change that back to Y. And then temporary signs, we have design review, but we're gonna have, that'll be staff review, so now it'll be yes.
What were the Ys you said you were changing? Ideological or?
Oh, no, we're not changing ideological signs. The only ones we're going to change will be, special events, and because we're changing design review to staff review. And then, temporary signs will now be yes, because everything's gonna be run through staff.
Okay, special events, there's a fee and a permit? Since when?
I think there's always been one.
I don't pay any.
Well.
I don't have a permit for signs.
Well, going forward.
No,
I'm gonna apply for your position.
For which event? For Made in Clarkdale?
any special event for Clarktoberfest or any of them.
Yeah, I think it's because nobody ever did it before. I know.
Says you need, you pay a fee and you need a permit. I don't need a permit for a sign for special events. I just,
We put your banners up, that fell under.
I understand that, but let's say if we put it out, let's say we take one of those signs, we put it out on a road somewheres. We've never had to do a sign permit before or a fee. I'm just being real honest about this. I look at this and I'm going, what are we talking about? We've had permission to do it.
So one of the things you have to think about too when you're looking at these is, are you going to enforce it? If you're not going to enforce it, don't put it in there.
Thank you.
So you can, I mean, if it might be not something you want to do, but going forward, you would have to enforce. Otherwise, just take it out.
Yeah,
Right. I just don't think it's, like I said, I don't think it's ever been enforced.
then it shouldn't be here.
But that doesn't mean we can't enforce it going forward.
Oh, Marv,
Wait. In the prior section, under temporary signs, which is what you're talking, that would be a temporary sign, right?
If we move special event signs to temporary signs.
Well, it has permit and then it says no permit required unless over 6 square feet are placed for more than 30 days. So
that's why you've got to be careful in this chart because we're saying two different things here. We're saying that you have to have a permit and fee. And in another section, we're saying if it's not up for a certain period of time, you don't need any of that.
So we'll make that footnote 7.
Under the table, we're gonna put a footnote or.
Exit table to everything else. I think that's the thing is make sure this table is consistent with what we've written. Mhm.
Right. Well, and that's why we're walking through this to make sure before we go and make some more changes that we all agree on this language. So we're not doing several changes back and forth.
No, I got you.
All right. So are we done with the table now? Okay. Enforcement. We're going to strike design review board approval and it'll just be compliance with zoning code. Footing inspections, electrical wiring, so we'll be renumbering or relettering as you can see.
the last part, reason for striking that is not really the.
That is where we get we just say the owner of record rather than including the Yavapai County because that is the record.
Oh, I see. That's why.
Is there keeping end user? You guys not have it on this?
What?
At the end of E?
So we have.
Known address
We
of
don't,
owner?
yeah, because we don't always have, owners, users are not always owners.
Right.
right? So if you lease out property, you're not the owner, you're the user. Right, gotcha.
I wonder if this chapter 7, because it says failure to remove or bring the sign into compliance in accordance with the notice given pursuant to section, and then it has 030, but I just wondered if it's really anything in this chapter.
So I think that what we need to refer to for compliance rather than zoning code is town code. Because we have an enforcement in town code that lists a whole series of, you know, administrative and legal actions we can take.
Okay,
But this, is this reference?
This is
to
referencing
any-
the,
this chapter.
Correct.
We just are citing 030, but it's really chapter 7.
A chapter, I think that's,
Section.
so what I'm suggesting is that we strike chapter 7, take that part out and just refer to town code. And I think it's chapter 1. It's either chapter 1 or chapter 3. I can't remember off the top of my head. What's that? Well, no, because now we're talking about if somebody, we do code enforcement and they don't comply, right, the legal processes that we could, right. So we have administrative processes and then we have legal processes. So rather than have separate rules here, I think just following the rules in town code.
that would be consistent.
yeah. So just pursuant to town code shall result.
And we can cite the chapter or article.
May change.
I think what this is saying, if you don't follow any of these rules, we can then do appropriate enforcement action as defined in town code. But I thought this section is referring to what rules? There's no rules in town code about signs.
No, so we're talking about the administrative process, which is code enforcement, right? And then when we get to the point where you failure to remove or bring the sign into compliance, right, in accordance with the notice given pursuant to enforcement, right, shall result in appropriate enforcement action, including but not limited to, it should be what the legal procedures that we can take in town code. Does that make sense?
What the notice given pursuant, so that
Yes.
express reference.
Code enforcement. Right. So code enforcement says, look, I've done this. You've had plenty of time. Now we lawyer up. And then for people who think that it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission with signs, we have H, the town may remove illegal or unsafe signs at the cost of the owner.
On the I5, I'm not sure I like.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't, what is responsiveness and community concerns and complaints? That's very subjective. That's very, what constitute a concern? I just don't like that sign.
Yes, I don't like you, so I don't like.
I don't like you, I don't like that sign. So I think 5 is,
We can take that out.
please.
Then I think 4 kind of goes to your point,
Mhm.
being about continued compliance with approved design and placement.
So I think we do just approve placement.
But there is a design component. Because it may be approved administratively, but there is a design, it's not as if there is no design component.
Yeah, no, I was saying, I wasn't saying we should take
Oh,
that
okay,
out.
okay.
I was just- commenting to Virginia that her concern she raised earlier about doing something and then they change it later.
Right.
This gives us the ability to go back.
That's
Oh, sorry. I
The
misunderstood
approved
what you were saying.
designer.
Okay. So this is the old permitted sign table that we struck. And you can see why.
Like repeat.
Right.
Like repeated. Yeah.
Yeah, and then here's where the political sign-free zone map is.
Yeah.
And I'm paranoid about this just because we had such version control issue and I can't read this, so.
Yep, we'll bring the,
I don't.
yep, we'll bring so like I said, we'll do an 11 by 17 so everybody can read it.
So that's readable.
Okay.
Does this, so the section on, that we just went through, all signs must be maintained in good condition. That means it's on a complaint. So if we've got signs that shouldn't be up anymore because it doesn't exist anymore and it's ratty and paint peeling, if
Yes,
that is either we can take it down once somebody sees it, or it has to be complaint driven.
complaint driven.
Bob sees something.
Right.
That deteriorated, he can,
Right. No, he generally does, but typically it's complaint driven.
he can
Right,
put it on his
He
own.
can initiate.
right. And we,
I don't like the thought that we're driving around and going like this.
Right.
On somebody.
We did that for years, so I'm just wanting to make
But
sure.
when you do that, now you're setting yourself up for a lawsuit because, oh, I only complain if it's a white person, or I only complain if it's a black
Sure,
person.
sure.
Now, you're not having equal enforcement, and people in the community can kind of target, oh, you're a Democrat, I don't like that, you know what I'm saying?
Or if that business doesn't exist anymore, and we have seen that happen, that those signs have stayed up for years.
yep. So we can, with, for instance, I'm thinking about the Sukasa sign halfway down the hill. Have them update that sign to either reflect Hermosillo's with the incorrect apostrophe, or paint it white, or take it down. If they're not going to, that sign has been up because they didn't want to,
Lose the identity
Yeah.
of Sukasa. I know
Right.
exactly why they did it, but that's not a reason for it to stay up.
No.
Because there's somebody else in that business.
and I don't know if there is there's an agreement between, in the lease for that sign, I have no idea, but we're gonna enforce this. That either you paint it white or you paint it Hermosillo's. All right, so we're at 6:57. I think that's a good stopping point.
Yes.
All right.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Thank you. All right, I call this meeting an end. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Aye. Thank you. I think Becky brought cookies, didn't you?
Yes,
There's a
please
cookie.
take a cookie.